Welcome to Unity Spiritual Center, Pflugerville. Last week we were talking about the fact that we are God in expression, and that the creative force of the universe, which is what we call God, is present within each one of us. And it's pretty well throughout the years, and we have, I forgot to bring the little monkeys in to say, see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. And we just sang a song that said, open my eyes, open my mouth, open my hearing. So it's pretty well established now, even in quantum physics, that what we speak, what we say, what we hear, what we think, and what actions we produce is what creates our world. Because we are created beings, okay? So the thing to understand is, no matter what, the world we live in is the world we have created. And unfortunately what happens now is we take it into blame and we have people saying, well, somebody else does it. But the truth is here, we are God incarnate. You are the Spirit of God working through the physical body, and you are here to bring that into form. Okay? So it's a very, very interesting conversation. And I've been doing a lot of thinking, a lot of reading, a lot of interacting with some of you. The idea here is that in this self-development area, we're always trying to get better. Everybody got that? So I have to use affirmations to get better. But we've been told, and the teachings of Jesus are, the kingdom of heaven is within you. Think about that. You are the light of the world, which we just sang. We heard Valerie's conversation in the meditation, that you are spirit. So what do you need to improve? So the truth is, you are complete and whole, just as you are right now today. And it's learning to create a spiritual life, which is what we're here and what Unity has talked about. And if you go back into Charles Fillmore, it was clearly that we are the expression of spirit in a body, and we're here to do that. Okay? Now, I've had this experience over this week, and I'm going to ask you, I don't want you to put your hands on, but did anybody read our newsletter? Okay, now if you didn't read it and you don't have it, there's a copy of it on the back table. Because I'd like you to take it home today. Because, no, we mail it to you. We mail it. It hasn't. So remember, you don't have a computer, so we mail it to you, Dan?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
I have two sitting waiting and to mail to.
I saw her starting to wake her up, that's why I stopped. Okay? So if the spiritual life or the spiritual path is important to harmony, to joy, to peace, everybody's looking for world peace, everybody's looking for good things to happen, and that's on the spiritual path. It's what we have gathered together to work on. Now, we all have issues. Anybody agree we all have issues? I'm laughing. She took me back 40-some years with the natural birth thing. Okay, plus, a lot of you know that I have an alcoholic background. There's a lot of stuff we have worked on and overcome in a spiritual world. But guess what? It requires us being who we really are, which means opening up to the splendor that we are. Okay, not getting better, just becoming who we are meant to be. Okay, now, in that, I have a daughter. Those of you who don't know, she's a college professor. She's always into the latest thing. And what's interesting is she gave me a link to ChatGPT. Anybody familiar with it? That's known as artificial intelligence. Okay? Now, folks, it's the new world. Now, everything I read is we're entering a new era, which means we have to shift and change. You see, if we want to make change, see, here's the idea. Your life, my life, is in cement right now based upon what we thought, what we speak, what we are action. That's our life. So how do we change the outcomes in our life? We have to change us. Everybody got it? Now, there isn't anything to change because you're already complete and whole just as you are. So it's really letting go of the old beliefs and understanding that we don't have to go through the issues. Okay. So, I asked, you ready? I asked the chat DP, I asked it, I put it in the computer, and the first question I asked is, what does it mean to be holy? Which is what we did last week, and it printed out 3 paragraphs. Then I asked it, artificial intelligence. I asked what principles are necessary for a spiritual life. Okay? And I got 7 principles. Okay? Now, if you could, the thing to do is understand how this thing does. What it does is it goes into all the libraries that, or things that are available to it and looks for information that is part of the question. And at the end of it, it gave me some of the sources it went into. And some of the sources it went into were Christian writing, Buddhist writing, Hindu writing, Jewish writing, etc. Which means it went into some of the ancient history, the ancient lore from all the major religions that are on a spiritual path, and gave me 7 principles based upon what has been said for centuries. Now, you think it might have some validity? And the question for me was, yes. So if it's there, and I'm saying, I'm starting to realize, and I'm asking you to realize, that you are complete and whole just as you are. You're a child of God. And what does that? As a child of God, what does a child of God inherit? Everything that God is, all the principles God is. So how do we get there? And obviously, in the physical world, it ain't working. And you know I use the word hate on purpose to get through. Okay? It's known as a pattern interrupt. Okay? And we become so complacent in doing what we're doing, I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing because it's working. So we keep, it's kind of like hitting ourselves with a hammer, hoping that the hammer stops. Okay? So all I'm doing is asking you to take a look at change. Now, I've got I passed this out once earlier, but I'm going to ask you, Madeline, would you just pass one? They all don't need one, but put one behind, let them look at it, okay? You can pass it down, but please look at it, okay? No, it's fine.
Okay.
I'm going to circulate, okay?
Circulate.
Because we're together in this conversation. And I'm saying clearly we have to change what we're doing, okay? And if we want to be on the spiritual path, be on the spiritual path. Okay, now, somebody help me, what does it say? Did you get one back here? Okay, what's it say?
Who wants to change?
Who wants to change? What's next?
Who wants to change?
And what is the response?
They don't want
Oh my God, not me. Okay? The question is what time you get up, and what do you do when you get up in the morning? What do you do on Sunday morning? Do you come and sit and then go home? What do you do? What are you spending your time on? Some of you keep, and I keep a daily timer, yeah, most of the time. Do you hear that? But what is penciled in there? Is penciled in time for meditation, time to read a book, time to do things, or is it the normal day-to-day stuff? So what are you doing, and what are you willing to do? The question is, what is your willingness to change? What is your willingness to really look at yourself and say, oh my God. See, I did that this week, and I spend too much time on TV. I said it, okay? So what is my willingness to change? Turn the key off, which I'm making a statement to you. And what statement are you willing to make to yourself to look at this spiritual path? Now, the 7 principles are really fascinating. Now, and here's the idea. When I read these, I realized Jesus spoke of each one of these. So guess what we're going to do for the next 7 Sundays? We're going to go through each one at a time. The only word that's missing in this conversation, and I got a call from my good friend, Belinda. Anybody familiar with Belinda?
Yeah.
And she said, the word love isn't in here, which is perfect. But would you agree, and when I'm going to use this as we go through, because they're all based on love. Now, in the world we're trained to struggle. You're going to have to give up things. You're going to have to do this. You're going to have to do that. Okay? At some points in my life, I had to learn to give up alcohol. I had to learn to stop struggling. I had to stop Anybody familiar with dumbing down? Okay?
Yeah.
In other words, it couldn't be too out front in some cases. So we all adapt to the circumstances we find ourselves in, and the question is, what can I do? And anybody agree? We are a spiritual community teaching spiritual things. So that's why we're here. So the question is, which of these principles, which are time, ancient, dwelling, are we really adhering to? What's interesting for me is with Velma, everybody knows Velma in here, and Velma, Reverend Velma, has been doing a book study with us. Larry and I have been doing it with her on Thoughts on Truth, Charles Fillmore, which goes back into the beginning of Charles Fillmore's thinking. And these principles are all part of what he was talking about. And Jesus, we're going to pull out the scriptures in the Bible that cover these 7 principles. So I'm going to take a few minutes and I'm going to read them. Are you ready? Mm-hmm. Number 1, I need glasses, which some of you guys should take time to make. Oh. Made a lot of noise. I have to remember that when I wear a sweater. Okay? So, I'm going to read this to you. This week, my daughter sent me a link to download ChatGPT, and I asked what principles are necessary for spiritual life, and I'm serious. This thing started printing out. It was like, immediately, okay? First principle, it said, what are principles necessary for spiritual life? The principles necessary for spiritual life may vary depending on one's belief and practice. Agree? Mm-hmm. Okay? Now, however, here are some general principles that can be helpful. Number 1, mindfulness. Being aware and present in the current moment helps individuals connect with their inner selves and the divine. And I would like to add, learn to love yourself. See, if you really believe you're a child of God, what would you think about yourself? And the problem is the world has told us we're broken, not good enough. We might have a different skin color. We might have hair that isn't here anymore. Whatever it is, we always have a reason to not be good enough. So it says mindfulness, being aware and present in the current moment, helps individuals connect with their inner selves. So who are you? And that's taking time in the morning or some time to look at that. Who am I? And who do I really believe I am? And we're going to discuss that. But by the way, that's the next week. Okay. Next, compassion, showing kindness and empathy toward oneself and others, an essential aspect of spirituality. This is under the name, love thy neighbor as thyself. Compassion, anybody agree, is the word for love. Okay, and what did Jesus teach? Compassion. What did the Buddhists teach? Compassion. Okay? Is it important? So instead of being upset with people, we have to understand that people have their own issues they're dealing with and love them no matter what. Oh, Roger, you're learning that, aren't you? I love you. See, we have to deal with our own demons. Okay? And do I love myself? Do I really love my next door neighbor? Do I love you? And am I willing to love you no matter what? That's compassion. Then it goes on and says gratitude. Recognizing and expressing gratitude for the blessings in life helps one develop a positive outlook and appreciation for the present moment. Gratitude. And what did Jesus talk? He taught gratitude. Okay? And what does gratitude do? You see, if you really understand, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he, when I'm thankful for something, what do I get more of?
Gratitude.
Yeah. So if I'm thankful and let things go, the things I'm thankful for, boy, that was a lesson. I hope I don't have to live that one again. See, that's an idea that is hard for us because we have to strike back. But the question is, do I have the compassion and do I have the gratitude to work spiritual principle? And this is not what the world teaches, agree? Okay, everybody, this is yes, this is no. Well, see, that's an affirmation. Okay? Let's go on. Forgiveness, letting go of grudges and resentments toward oneself and others can lead to inner peace and spiritual growth. So forgiveness, anybody familiar with forgiveness? Anybody have family members that might fit into that? Everybody take a deep breath. I have yet to find a family that doesn't have those issues somewhere. How about relationships? I don't know how far to go on that one. It's like, even in marriage, there's upsets. So do we go into forgiveness? Okay? So forgiveness is a big issue, and it keeps coming up everywhere. And Jesus kept saying, worry not, don't worry about those things. So the problem is, are we willing to change, look at that, and bring it in, and then work with ourselves? It's not to get better, it's to let go of the old stuff. So we can clean it out and allow the Spirit to come through. Next, you ready? Service. Serving others through acts of kindness, charity, and volunteer work can be a meaningful way to connect with the divine and contribute to the greater good. So service. Okay. I appreciate Elvis. I'm going to make an assumption that you overcome the fear to get up here and do that. Yes. And you work through it. So it's a service, okay? And what do we do? You know, it's interesting to me, and of course it's easy for me to say that, but doing what we do, you know, who steps forward, who does things? And it's not because of me and not because of anybody else. It's for the willingness to be of service to the universe, to do more than I left behind. See, if I'm a child of God and I really am divinity, I'm here to share of myself and my energy. Okay, not to take away, not to be upset, but to serve just out of my heart, my love. Okay? Next, interesting, isn't it? Self-reflection. Taking time to reflect on one's beliefs, values, and experiences can help individuals deepen their understanding of themselves and spirituality. So how often do we really go into deep contemplation and look at what's in my life? Why do I think the way I do? How do I really feel about it? In other words, if I'm upset with Madeline, getting deeply involved in what's going on, what's happening. And most of the time it's something that annoyed me because it didn't take care of me. Because most of the time we're looking at what somebody did to me rather than what I can do. And forgiveness and self-reflection. It's interesting to me, even looking in a mirror, what do you see? Do you see the flaws or do you see the benefits of who you are? The kingdom of God is where, according to Jesus? Within. So when you look in the mirror, what do you see?
God.
Huh?
God.
Yeah. You really are. You're looking at spirit within. And we are trained to be critical. Look at it. It's not right. The hair's wrong. One I use all the time. I wish I had more hair. But that's the divinity that's looking back at me from the mirror. And what do I say to it? Wonderful. What a soul you are. Look at the divinity that you are. Thank you for being you. Give it a try. See how you feel. Okay? And then, last of all, connection. I'll take a minute and look around. Just look around. Look at your neighbors. Look at each other. What are you looking at? God. See, you're looking at divinity if you choose to do that. And so what are you connecting with? And I don't know why I'm going back to my previous term. But when I used to hang out in, they're called bars, taverns, what kind of energy did I hang out in? You could feel it. When you walked in, I swear you could feel it. When you walk in those doors, you feel the energy. Yes, thank God you're here. Okay, so it's connection with that which supports you. It includes reading books, because books have an energy. Tapes for God also have an energy. Everything has an energy to it, and what energy are you associating with? Who are you associating with? Who are you hanging around? What are your thoughts? What's going on? Okay? Which is connection. And who are we really connected with? Spirit, God. The creative force of the universe is what we're each created for. So, what is that, and what is the difficulty in that conversation? Anybody agree it doesn't cost any money to do any of these things? And you don't have to go to school and learn it all over again. Okay? It's kind of like, okay, who's a choice? Who's a choice and willingness to make a change? And the first choice is, back to number one, learning to love yourself and understand who you are, which is where we're going to go next week. So, I'm asking whether there's copies on the back table. Take it home and look at it. The question is, what am I doing? Where am I going? What am I doing to get there? And if I've got issues in my life, if I don't have enough money, what are my thoughts? What am I doing? What am I feeling sorry about? What am I complaining about? Because remember, what we speak is what we create. So if I'm upset that I don't have enough money and I keep complaining about that, what happens? See, that's how sneaky this whole thing is. So the teachings of Jesus were back then, teachings of Charles Fillmore. The kingdom of heaven is within. Now, overall, this is the last paragraph. You ready? Overall, a spiritual life involves cultivating a deep connection with yourself, oneself, and others, and the divine. Living in a way that aligns with one's values and beliefs. So the question is, what are your values? What are your beliefs? What do you believe possible? That's why I appreciate Roger showing up, saying what's possible is 250. You know what my immediate reaction to him was? I'd be happy to see 150. You understand how I dumbed down immediately. So we all have those inner beliefs. And how do we look at them? We interact with each other. Thank you for bringing it up. I appreciate it. By the way, 250 is a good
Good
now,
time.
I'm going to stop. Okay, because I want people to think. Okay, and I saw a hand, I'm going to ask, I want you just to be still right now. Okay? The question is, what is your teachability index? What are you willing to do? What are you willing to take on and look at? And if things aren't working in perfect harmony, what can we do? Now, this church takes, believe it or not, your prayer chaplains have been through 6 weeks of training. How many times? At least 4 or 5. Annually for the last 6, 7 years. They have been in it, and they're there to pray with you and help you. Okay? Madeline and I make ourselves available. A couple of people have been asked how much you charge. We are here to support you as a spiritual community. It's up to you to take advantage of that. Okay? We're not going to come out and say because you have a right to be who you are, you're the one that has to make a choice of what you're going to do. And anybody from there's excuses. I am one of the best people making excuses. It's fun. It really is. I can make excuses that I had to be with my daughter, I had to do this, I had to do that. But so a lot of times, the thing to understand is the ego wants you to stay things the way they are. So anytime you start wanting to change, things come in to get in the way. It's just a fact of life. Okay? So I love you. Thank you for listening to me. I'm looking at myself very strongly. I hope you realize that. And I'm asking you to do that same thing. And the question is, what are you willing to do? What are you willing to change? Not for me, not for your family, for you. And what do you want to accomplish in life? And what is your spiritual path like? Okay? So, now you can ask questions. Yes?
May I share
Questions?
prayer? Questions?
Questions?
Questions.
Okay, no question.
None? Okay, please. There's a couple copies of the cartoons left over. Please take the copies there. Folks, on finish. The question is, what is your teachability index? Okay? And I'm saying the kingdom of heaven is within you. We all have the capability of returning to the Father. Okay? And so it is. Amen.
Amen.